Good evening, wanderers. Today, the Apothecary has brought us to a curious spot, a place long forgotten by most. We're here at the Lanternless Dock, a weathered old pier that stretches out over nothing but dry, cracked earth. Once this dock led to a magnificent lake, they say, waters so still and clear you could see the stars reflected perfectly on its surface, as though the heavens themselves had fallen below. But now, there's no lake, no stars, just an expanse of forgotten land where something grand once existed. The dock itself is old, its wood worn smooth from centuries of wind and time. Yet, despite its age, it stands strong, perhaps waiting for the waters to return. They never do, of course, but the people of Ashbourne still speak of a time when the dock was full of life. It's strange to think that something so lively could be reduced to silence, and yet, here we are. The locals, of course, avoid this place. Some say it's haunted, others simply see it as a relic of a time they'd rather forget. I've always been more inclined to explore places like this, though. I find there's a certain magic in forgotten things, in places abandoned by the rush of progress. The dock might not be much to look at now, but it holds echoes of what it used to be. You can almost feel it, the quiet hum of what once was. Earlier today, while setting up shop here, I met an old fisherman named Garrow. He's one of the few who still comes by the dock, though he no longer fishes. No point, he told me, no fish to be found in a place with no water. But he still comes, every evening without fail. He sits at the end of the dock with his old fishing pole in hand, staring out at the horizon like he's waiting for something. When I asked him why, he smiled and said, "The lake may be gone, but the stars still watch over us. Sometimes that's all you need." It's a sentiment I've heard before in Ashbourne, the idea that stars hold a kind of power. Maybe they do. After all, the Apothecary itself is full of star fragments, each one humming with energy. Could it be that this old dock and the lake that once stood here are somehow tied to the stars? Perhaps the lake dried up not because of natural causes, but because the stars themselves shifted, pulling away their reflection. I can't say for sure, but it's a theory worth pondering. The dock's name comes from the fact that no lanterns have ever been lit here. Even during its prime, when the lake was full and the dock bustled with activity, there were no lanterns. It's said that the light of the stars was so bright, lanterns simply weren't needed. Of course, that was a long time ago. Now, the stars shine less brightly here, as though they've forgotten the dock exists. Speaking of lanterns, I ran into Elder Moss earlier. You might remember him from Elm Hollow. He's the lantern maker who's been crafting star fragment lanterns for as long as anyone can remember. Today, though, he seemed off. He was muttering to himself as he wandered down the dock, holding a lantern that wasn't lit. I asked him what was wrong, and he sighed deeply before telling me that his latest batch of lanterns refuses to ignite. "It's the fragments," he said, shaking his head. "They're fading. I don't know why." It's troubling, to say the least. Star fragments don't just fade. They glow for as long as they're cared for. But it seems something is interfering with them here, at the Lanternless Dock. I told Elder Moss I'd look into it, though I can't say I have any solid answers yet. Something about this place feels disconnected, like it's been cut off from the usual flow of magic. Perhaps it's the absence of water, or maybe it's something deeper. Whatever the case, it seems the dock has more mysteries than even I expected. Whimsy, of course, has been no help in this regard. They've been sunbathing most of the day, content to lounge in the warmth of the afternoon sun. I can't blame them, really. It's a peaceful spot, all things considered. Even without the lake, the dock has a certain charm to it. The wood creaks underfoot, and the air smells faintly of old pine and moss. If it weren't for the eerie silence that lingers here, I might even call it pleasant. But enough about docks and lanterns. Let's turn to a few letters, shall we? The Apothecary has been receiving quite a bit of correspondence lately, and I'd hate to leave anyone waiting too long for a reply. Our first letter comes from Farley, a resident of Elm Hollow. Farley writes, "Altaire, my crops have been growing far slower than usual this season, despite all my efforts. Is there something in the air, or am I just having bad luck?" Ah, Farley, I've heard several similar reports from the farmers of Elm Hollow. It seems the stars have shifted ever so slightly this season, which could be affecting the growth of certain crops. It's nothing to worry about. Things should return to normal soon enough. In the meantime, I'd recommend giving your soil a little extra care. Some valerian root mixed in with the earth should help speed things along. And here's a quick note from one of our frequent visitors, Maren, who lives in Ashbourne proper. Maren writes, Altaire, I've been avoiding the library lately. There's something strange happening there. A hole in the floor that wasn't there before, and it's growing. Ah yes, the hole in the Ashbourne library. Mistress Thistlethorn has been keeping an eye on it, though I suspect it's beyond even her considerable expertise. I'd recommend steering clear of that particular spot for the time being. There's no telling what might fall through, or crawl out for that matter. And our final letter for today comes from Leora, all the way over in the Vale of Larkspur. Leora writes, Altaire, I've been collecting fallen star fragments for years, but recently they've been disappearing. I leave them in my garden and by morning, they're gone. Could this be the work of a thief? Leora, it's unlikely that anyone is stealing your star fragments, at least not any ordinary thief. Sometimes fragments simply fade, returning to the stars from whence they came. It's a natural cycle, though it can be frustrating when you've been carefully tending to them. My advice, keep collecting, but don't hold on too tightly. Some things are meant to slip away after all. Well, that's enough mail for today. Now, back to the Lanternless Dock. It's evening now, and the sky is starting to darken. The stars are beginning to peek through, though their reflections are absent as always. It's a strange thing to witness, this place that once thrived on starlight now sitting in shadow. The dock may be lanternless, but it's not without its beauty. The old wood, the quiet, the sense that something ancient lingers just out of sight. It's a place of memories, even if those memories have faded. As I prepare to leave, I can't help but wonder if the lake will ever return. The fishermen of Ashbourne have given up hope, but Garrow, he still believes. He told me once that the lake isn't truly gone, just waiting. Everything comes back, he said, if you wait long enough. Maybe he's right. Maybe one day the waters will rise again, and the lanternless dock will glow once more. Not from lanterns, but from the light of the stars reflected below. Until then, this place will remain as it is. Quiet, still, waiting for something that may never come. And yet, there's a kind of peace in that. Not everything needs to be bustling with life. Some places are meant to be forgotten, if only so they can be rediscovered. And with that, it's time to pack up the apothecary and move on. Whimsy has already stretched and yawned, ready for the next adventure as usual. Who knows where we'll end up next? Perhaps somewhere with a bit more water, or perhaps somewhere even drier. Until then, wanderers, may your lanterns find their light, and may the stars guide you, even if only faintly.